What up, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of The Fade with Golden Tate, and we got a lot of things to cover on the docket. Starting off with Joe Flacco is traded to the Cincinnati Bengals. Who won the trade? Who lost the trade? We got some seats that are heating up for the coaches. Who's going to make it through the hot seat? And then we got the Get Got Pod. Gave me a shout out in their cover photo, and I have no clue why, but we're going to discuss that in Captain T. And of course, Thursday night football. My picks, my props that I like. Let's lock in and get into it. Joe Flacco to the Bengals, traded mid-season. I mean, this got to be like the third time ever in the history of football that a quarterback has been traded mid-season, intra-division. What does this mean? I have so many questions, and I'm going to start off with this one. Joe Flacco going to the Bengals. The question is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? I can make a case for both, but just purely talking about Joe Flacco. This Bengals offensive line has got some serious problems over there, okay? They've already given up 15 sacks, which is 10th most in the NFL through 5 games. That's a whole lot of hits on a 40-plus-year-old man. Now, the reality of it is this is an upgrade for the Bengals. Jake Brown, they wasn't cutting it. Joe Flacco is going to be he's a veteran guy. He knows how to manage a game. Now, Joe Flacco could be forced into some weekly shootouts, which I don't think that's what he wants. And he's leaving a situation where his defense was dominant, where he just had to manage the game, keep it close, and then we're sliding there late like a DM. Them days is over, bub. You're going to be running for your life out there in Cincinnati, and I worry that is Grandpa Flacco going to make it through the season at this point? Now, let's go back to talk about history now. Joe Flacco back in 2023 was on the couch, probably playing golf during the day, binge watching Squid Games and Stranger Things, and then he gets a call to Cleveland. In his debut against the Rams, that Joker goes for 311 yards, 3 touchdowns, one interception. That's kind of a big deal. Now he's stepping into a situation where he's got elite receivers. Elite. He's got 2 number 1 receivers, T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. Those 2 guys have won the trade because Jake Browning was not able to get the ball to them for whatever reason. In fact, he got the ball to the opposition more times than none. Fun fact, by the way, Jamar Chase has more tackles, solo tackles this year than he does touchdowns. Let that sink in for a second. Wow. Jamar Chase is one of the best receivers in the game and might go down as one of the best receivers to ever play the game. Okay? And he's got more tackles than touchdowns. That tells you a lot. A lot. But anyway, do I think it's going to be the solution to the Bengals? Do I think they're going to get into the playoffs because of Joe Flacco? No, not really. I don't. I think they might be the 8th or 9th best team when it's all said and done. You just got to hope Joe Burrow gets back. And look, they couldn't even protect Joe Burrow. What makes you think they're going to be able to protect Joe Flacco? But anyways, Joe Flacco spent 13 of his 18 years in that division. So he knows the environment. He knows the defense. Like I said earlier, he's going to be steady Eddie. He's going to bring, the poise. Quick decision-making will definitely help with the sacks. You got T and Jamar. You see one-on-one. Go ahead, call yourself a hitch out there or a 3-step go route or a slant just to move the sticks and keep picking them apart. Pick them apart until they stop blitzing you, and then maybe you can go deep. But speaking on, kind of going back to T and Jamar, I think these guys got to be ecstatic, especially if you go back and look at the history again of what he did with Cleveland and Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper was probably on his way out of the league because he didn't have a quarterback, not because of his talent. And Joe Flacco came into Cleveland, and Amari Cooper went absolutely insane. In 4 games, Amari Cooper had 25 catches, 485 yards, 3 touchdowns in just 4 games. And I'm expecting something similar to happen with T and Jamar. And so the lines are not out yet on those guys' overs and unders of receptions and yards, but I am sprinting to those as soon as they come out. And if I can find them throughout the show, I'll definitely post them on here. Now, the Cleveland Browns. This is a very interesting situation, if you will, too. Okay. Beginning of the season, you had a bunch of quarterbacks on your roster. You had Deshaun Watson, who we know is recovering from an Achilles tear. You had old man, granddaddy Joe Flacco, which he was the big dog, the vet in the room. We expected him to start, and then we had Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders. Now you're down to number 1 is Dillon Gabriel, number 2 is Shedeur Sanders, and if all hell breaks loose, maybe Deshaun Jackson's coming back late in the season to bring some value so you can trade him off too. But this move for the Cleveland Browns kind of makes their life a little bit simpler if you follow. Because if Dillon Gabriel goes out there and kind of poops the bed, you remove even a thought of, okay, well, do we go back to Joe Flacco or do we give Shedeur a chance? What's the media going to say about this? What narratives are they going to be throwing our way? It kind of buys the head coach some breathing room to develop these guys. And so for that reason, I don't have a problem with the Browns trading them away. It kind of covers their ass a little bit if you think about it. But at the end of the day, going back to the biggest winners, my specialty, receivers. If I am T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, it's a breath of fresh air because you got a veteran presence. That's a guy who's seen everything, won a Super Bowl, played at an MVP level, knows the division, knows knows all of those defenses very well, knows how to pick them apart. You get some stability. Obviously, he's not. We know Joe Burrow's the guy. He's the guy. But this is going to work. This is going to work. The opportunity to learn. Look, if I'm a young receiver, which I'll argue that Jamar and TR, I'm picking Joe Flacco's brain, man. I'm picking their brains on everything as far as that division for sure, because I'm going to see these teams twice a year for the next 4 to 5 years at least. And so I'm picking their brains, and I'm trying to be even a better pro, man. You want to be great, you take the physical attributes you have, and you go find you a vet guy who's seen it all, done it all, played in this league for almost 2 decades, and you live in his back pocket. 1, because that's going to be your best friend on the field, feeding you the rock. And 2, the knowledge that's going to come from those boys talking to Joe Flacco over and over, the knowledge that freaking Joe Burrow's even going to get as he's rehabbing, the mentality part, how to watch film, how to carry yourself, which Joe Shiesty carries himself amazingly, by the way. But man, this trade for the Cincinnati Bengals is so much more than the wins and losses. This is going to be for the maturity of players. And so I do like it. And the trust factor. Jamar, T, we know he's going to get the ball out correctly. We know that he's going to identify the Mike linebacker, which is the middle linebacker. He's going to have the offensive line blocking the correct way. He's going to be able to see blitzes before those guys even know that they're blitzing probably. This is this is, I'm optimistic about it. I'm optimistic about it, to say the least. And I'll finish with this. These guys, weirdly enough, with two wins, are still right there in the mix for playoffs. They are. Now, do we believe, as an outsider looking in, do I believe that they are a playoff team? No, but you get in how you get in if you can find a way to get in. And so, with sitting second in the division behind the Steelers, anything can happen. And so this Bengals organization has got to be pretty excited because it's still within grabs. This is kind of okay. Maybe Joe comes in and does what he did with Cleveland and helps us find a way to get to the playoffs. Guys, statistically, their numbers uptick. Guys walk into the as a player, when I hear, if I'm in the Bengals locker room and I hear that we just traded for Joe Flacco, I'm probably running sprints up and down the locker room in joy, like especially as a receiver. I'm thinking, all right, it's time to eat now. We got a guy who can get us the ball, understands the game. I'm thinking, okay, the season's not shot. We have a chance. We have hope. And when you have hope and confidence that you can do it, usually you can do it. So guys are going to be back in there working hard, getting in there early. Joe Flacco's going to be, training and bring in some other leaders because the confidence is there. And now we believe in ourselves. So, hey, Zac Taylor and co. and the Bengals, I approve. I approve this trade. Now, but I do have one small question, which doesn't all matter that much. But why not at least have Colin Kaepernick? I know you hadn't heard that name in a while, but why not have him come out for a trial and just see what he has? You don't have to give up any draft picks. You don't have to pay him much either. Just see what he's bringing to the table. Just a look. Just a look. Because from what I'm reading still, Colin is still keeping himself ready. He's still able to spin the ball, per some sources. Could be reliable. Maybe he could learn the playbook pretty quickly. I know it's been a while. Now, I know all the other mess that comes around with it that people want to talk about, but I might have taken a look at him too. Y'all know winter coming, and it's about to get real cold outside now. Just because it's getting cold outside don't mean some seats ain't going to be hot over the next few weeks. And we got to discuss those guys and those coaches that have extremely hot seats. Brian Callahan with the Titans over 2 seasons, 4-18. However, they did just get their first win last week against the Arizona Cardinals. And what I said earlier this week, one of the most wackiest games ever. It was almost like the Arizona Cardinals were point shaving and working for the Titans. And it was kind of crazy. Just to go back and remind you, Cam Ward throws a pass, gets deflected, gets picked off. Guy gets up with interception, starts running, not touched, fumbles the ball. Balls gets slapped around, ends up in the end zone. Titans end up scoring a touchdown because they land on it. That's 6 points right there. Interception to a touchdown. Mind blown. And then Amari DiMercato earlier in the game breaks a beautiful 75-yard run and decides he wants to let the ball go before he gets to the end zone. Right after he had probably just seen someone do it the week before, but let's stay focused, Golden. Stay focused. So yeah, that's how they got their first win. And a win's a win. They come in all shapes and forms, but this is not one that you're like, oh yes, we got it figured out now. No, not by any means. Now, Cam Ward, in order for Callahan to keep his job, Cam Ward needs to continue and develop very quickly to give him another year or so, I believe. But we will see how that all develops. Not sure. Next on our hot seats, getting real uncomfortable in here. Mike McDaniels with the Dolphins. Team is 1-4, just blew a 17-point lead to the Panthers. Now, the Panthers are playing better. We won't argue that. But the Panthers are not known to be an elite team right now. And clearly neither is Miami. But offense and defense sit at the bottom tier. That's not a good combo. You got to be good at something, buddy. Either offense or defense. I understand you just lost Tyreek for the year, so you got to make some things happen. One bright spot I will say I have seen over there is that I love how you're utilizing Achan. Love that he's a running back, but also getting a lot of targets at receiver, so that's good. But realistically, he's got to what I would like to think week 12 maybe. Brian Daboll with the New York Football Giants. Overall record 19-36 with one tie. And his job is chained to rookie Jackson Dart's growth. And the judgment's still out on Jackson Dart. Came out and got a gritty win against the Chargers, who were undefeated at the time. It's impressive. Again, I don't care how you do it. And then came back last week, and the team had, I think, 5 turnovers, which has been an issue for the Giants over the past several years, for sure. So his leash is probably a little bit longer, in my opinion, because if Dart ends up playing consistent and showing growth, I think that does buy Brian some time. But ultimately, you got to be able to protect him. You got to be able to protect your quarterback. And if you can't protect your quarterback, you really don't have a chance. So, hopefully he gets some more time so he can draft some offensive linemen. And then also, lastly, on the hot seat, Zac Taylor with the Bengals. Even with Joe Flacco coming on over, the heat is still turned up. There's still a lot of pressure that he's feeling. We are feeling it for him. The team has lost 3 straight games by 25 or more points since Burrow went down. 25 plus points. 3 touchdowns and a field goal is what you're losing by to teams that are not elite by any means. Missed the playoffs for the 4th time in 6 years. It might be night. Now, what makes this one just such a weird situation to me is that you just look at that team, and when Joe Burrow's healthy, he is a top-tier quarterback. You got Jamar Chase, who is a top 2 receiver, and depends on who you ask, he ain't number 2. Depends on who you ask. And you got T. Higgins, that would be a bona fide number 1 receiver on just about any other team throughout the NFL. Dude's an absolute baller. And by the way, the running back has got some serious speed too. And so how they managed to be so bad in the same areas year in and year out is kind of beyond me. And it's one thing or another, just poor execution or lack of focus or just idiotic mistakes is what I see from them. And we're going to see soon. There's also a player perspective when a coach is on the hot seat, because everybody in the organization can feel it. And you kind of have levels of guys who notice different things and are treated differently or take a different mindset, if you will, going into a hot seat situation. You got the young quarterback, the guy that was drafted likely by that head coach and that GM. He wants to make the coach proud. He's almost like a father figure, if you will, if you think he's a good coach, and he took a chance on you. So I want to go out here and win. I also feel the pressure as a young quarterback that it's my job to help us win, and I'm a large part of us winning. There's a development phase that you don't know what you don't know, and you're still trying to figure out the pro football, but you want to make that coach proud, and it means a lot to you. So you actually feel the pressure just as much. And it can be depressing at times and kind of make you sad. Like, dang, dude, like, you put on yourself, I'm about to get this coach fired. Now, young guys, that is not the case. It's not your fault. As long as you're preparing the best you can and you're showing up to practice, giving it all you got, it's going to come. You also got to be put in a good situation to win with the offensive coordinator and the quarterback's coach and the head coach. So it's not all on you, but I can understand those feelings that you might be dealing with. Then you have the role player. You have the role player that's just, look, regardless of who is head coaching, I need my opportunity. Just make sure I'm getting my reps so I can put good film out there. I'm coming up on a contract year potentially, so I'm trying to just put it on film. The eye in the sky sees everything, so just give me opportunity, whether it's on special teams, offense, defense. Let me go do my thing because I need to go try to get me a job next year because I know that you're not going to bring me that back because you're probably not going to be here, coach. That's what you're thinking. You're not saying that. That's what you're thinking. And then you got the old vet. You got the vet head, the OG. And I was kind of in this is where I was when I was with New York, man. And it was during COVID season too. It sucked, just to make it even worse. No fans. We were just a bad team. We had a first time head coach with Joseph Judge. Anyways, and just wasn't getting utilized. We weren't winning. And so as an older guy that's nearing the end, and again, you know that I'm not going to be here next year because they are going, they don't want to pay the money, or they're going to, want to bring their guys in, whatever it might be. But you start making business decisions. Am I really going to fight for this extra 2 yards when I'm near the sideline for a 1-7 team or 0-4 team, 0-5 team? Is it worth like the bruises and the headaches and the concussions and the strains and waking up in the middle of the night, not being able to walk because I tried to fight for these 2 yards when I'm not even sure this coach is going to fight for me right now or even in the future or be able to fight for me? You start making business decisions. You're not taking those unnecessary hits anymore. You're not putting it all out there. For a yard or two. Now you're still showing up being a professional because as an NFL guy or anyone has a job, your duty is to be a professional. So I'm still prepping, making sure I know my plays. I know what's expected of me. I'm still leading the young guys the best I can. But if it comes to taking this hit or not taking this hit, nah, I'm good, bro. And so the point I'm making is that although the head coach is in the hot seat, the entire organization is feeling pressure and uncomfortable. They know that decisions are going to have to be made, hopefully at the end of the year, but sometimes they happen the first quarter, second quarter of the season, and then you also have the players who are majorly affected by this. So, yeah. So last night, I'm being useless, scrolling on my phone in the bed and doing a lot of nothing, get caught up in scrolling. And while my wife is, of course, being superwoman and being very productive, but don't judge me. And I'm trying to be better, I promise you. And I come across the Get Got podcast, and they have Priest Holmes on it. But on the cover photo is me with the New York Football Giants in the tent, kind of looking sad or disgruntled, whatever you want to call it. And so I swipe over to listen to what they're talking about. And it's Priest Holmes, Marshawn Lynch, one of my old teammates, and Mike Robb, another one of my old teammates of the Seattle Seahawks. We got the fullback, running back combination. And there Priest Holmes is talking about Captain T. Well, if you don't know what Captain T, which I wouldn't expect y'all to know, but Captain T is what we called the Toradol shot. And that was like, for me, it was like when Popeye ate his greens and his muscles popped out and he just felt like he was unstoppable. That's what the T pill did for me. And it's Toradol, and it's an anti-inflammatory that in my younger days, I didn't really need it. I could bounce back from anything in a day or two. I was young, dumb, and full of speed. So I could bounce back. But later in my career, after having a few nicks and bruises and to get the inflammation out, I was introduced to, the Celebrex and all naproxen and the pink pill and Toradol. And I noticed that, when I first got into the league, when I would ever need it, they were, if I just go request it, they would give it to me, and then they give me a shot for them. So doctors put the gloves on, pop the rubber gloves, boom, and the bum, and that's it. And then they kind of stopped giving it out, and it was kind of team by team. And so I get to Detroit, and they were kind of being a little stingy with it. And I was like, what's going on with this? And I guess the NFL have made some rules, or, asked guys not to be taking it because they don't want you depending on it. So I stopped taking it and had to, go to Celebrex and Naproxen whenever I needed it, of course, but I wasn't dependent on it really. And then I get later into my career. I get to Philly, and I get to um, New York, and it didn't matter it didn't matter if I felt like $100,000 or $10. I was taking my pill, and I had my little process. No matter what my injury was like during the week or how I felt during the week, I tried not to take anything. But on a Saturday night, Sunday morning, I made sure that there was two things that I did for me personally. I took me a half Ambien to make sure I was going to get my sleep. I got to get my sleep leading up to a big game. I got to get at least 8 hours. And my problem sometimes has been uh, falling asleep. Now, once I get to sleep, I'm chilling. And then I also took the Toradol pill to get it in the system. And once game day came, it didn't matter how I felt during the week. I was ready to go. I felt like if you asked me to run through this wall that was brick, I was ready to do it. If you asked me to try to run through Chancellor, wasn't smart, but I was ready to do it because there was no consequences until you get to nighttime. And when you're sleeping and you forgot about, your sleep, you forgot about the game, you forgot about some of these nicks and bruises that you've taken during the game. And I specifically remember there was a few times where, I'm still trying to pee out all the water and electrolytes that I've been consuming from earlier. And I walk around 2, 3 in the morning. I get up and get out the bed and walk to the bathroom, and I dang near fall on the ground. Thankfully, I had like a desk right there to kind of catch myself, because that's when the nicks and bruises and the inflammation comes back. It's sitting in there nice, and just you're sore. You are extremely sore, um, after a game, after kind of really being numb because the T pill had you sitting right. I'm talking about, I felt like Superman. But anyway, so I just thought that was interesting. And I looked up and saw that. I was like, what I got to do with this? And I didn't have anything to do with it, but my picture's there. So I told you the story. Xavien Howard abruptly retires 4 games into the season. And just to give you a little background, this is at one point, he was the highest paid cornerback in the league, been voted all pro twice, I believe, been to multiple Pro Bowls, was considered to be a ball hawk, an absolute dog, just quit, or retired, if you retired, because I don't like using the word quit. He retired in the middle of the season. And there's some emotions that kind of got me flirting with both sides of it, trying to figure out what's the right, wrong, understand where he's coming from, and I'll try to vocalize him. But hey, look, as a family man, I always respect a man putting his family first and foremost, and that's what we should be doing, putting our family first and foremost. And so he realized, I'm guessing he realized, being with his kids on Sundays and throughout the week is more important than what he's doing on the field. Health. We know that he battled with injuries, um, and some things that happened in his life. So his maturity has changed. Um, his passions have changed. What he values has clearly changed. I respect the financial security. He's got that. He was the highest paid at some point. Money's not a thing, I hope. Finding that life and that life balance. NFL careers do end. Family doesn't. Your legacy within your family is what's going to matter at the end of the day. um, where you're standing in front of Jesus, and how you treated people, and how you led your family, and how you follow Christ. So I completely understand it from that part. But as a player perspective, and let me get personal before I go there. As a player who was late in his career with the Giants, I wish I could have had more opportunities to play where my kids saw me out there on the field live and in the flesh. Like my babies were like 1 and 2, so they didn't even know what was going on. They couldn't even see straight when I was playing. And so they would come to camp and I made some really cool memories, but that they won't remember. They'll look back at it and probably think it's super cool, but they won't remember. But I wish that I was still playing, when I was, I don't know, 35, 36, when they were 4, 5, and 6 years old, to be able to see daddy in his element, um, see how I carried myself and the type of teammate and type of player I was. I wish, um, and, and I will say this, like once it's over, it's over. There's no going back. And I still to this moment wake up having, I guess, nightmares, if you will, that I'm, breaking a tackle on punt return or making a catch in the fourth quarter, and then I wake up, I'm kind of like bummed out. I get over it really quickly, but I'm bummed out that I don't get that opportunity to share with my family. So um, that one of the things that's on my mind now, the player perspective. Any look, as a player, we understand that it's your duty to take care of yours. Whatever you need to do to take care of yourself, your body, your family, you got to do that. We respect that, and the older you get, the more you respect it, because these organizations can make you feel like you're useless anyway. Like they just cut you and sign you and cut you and sign you, and it makes it it feels like they don't really care at times. But this one is just it's a little it's a little different to me. You quit on a team that was 4-1. You were the starting cornerback. If this was even on your mind, like I feel like why wouldn't we talk to the organization like, hey, I just want you guys to know that this is on my mind going into the season. So protect yourselves by having some extra depth. But you took a spot from a guy who's fighting to be on a team that could have been the next starter potentially. And so that part of it, as a player, as another player, I'm like, dang, dude, you kind of screwed us, man. We're top of the division right now. We're playing really good football. Offensively, our team is holding down. You know, we see you as a short shutdown corner. We see you as a old head that has ton of wisdom that I was planning to spend the season like in your back pocket, learning how to be a pro, learning the ins and outs of cornerback, because I inspired to be like you, an all pro, uh, Pro Bowl guy that earned a big contract for myself and my family. And, the coaches are now they're scrambling, trying to figure out how to fill this hole. Do we trade? Do we go get somebody off the street? And so, from the organization and other player standpoint, man, I'm like, dang, this one kind of hurts. But then as someone with a heart and a human that's gone through some things, I'm like, man, I respect that as a player, as a person and a man of God, that you would do that and be able to be mature enough to, you know, do it that way. So something that's just kind of been on my mind. Please comment below on your thoughts on the situation. I love hearing outsider perspectives as well. Thursday night football is underway, and we got two of my former teams playing each other. We got the Philadelphia Eagles going to see the New York Football Giants. I think this game will be cracked open. I think the Philadelphia Eagles will win and cover. And I'm going to just spit some data out. I've become a data guy nowadays. I like using my knowledge with data. So this is what we got. We got the Eagles sitting at -7.5, road favorites. The total sitting around 40. Eagles are 11-0 straight up, 8-3 against the spread versus Giants in primetime TV since 2009. Giants are 2-20 straight up in night games since 2019 and 1-12 at MetLife in primetime. The under is 10-4 in the last 14 meetings. Now, what I like the most out of those, what I read, is going to be for Philly to win outright, and maybe I throw it in a parlay with, we'll say the Pittsburgh Steelers. I like them too. And then also, I like taking them at 7.5. But if you are worried about that a little bit, then go ahead and buy the hook and go down to 7. I do believe they will win by at least a touchdown. Now, why I'm going to really rely on the data here is really because the Eagles are in a bounce back spot. They just got beat by the Denver Broncos, which had no business beating because they just decided to play only one half of football. So I think they're going to come in here real pissed off. Saquon Barkley is going to be ready to absolutely try to shred them apart. Nick Sirianni is going to want to feed his guy because everyone wants to feed their guy when they're playing their old team, and every guy wants to eat against their old team. It's just a natural feeling that we all go to. We want to eat against our old team, which is understandable. Look, the Giants still have a rookie quarterback out there that just lost to the Saints, a bottom like 5 team in the league. They just lost to with 5 turnovers. So if I'm just talking about if we're getting into props, I like Jackson Dart to throw a pick. I like Devontae Smith over 50.5 yards. Giants ranked 31st against receivers. Smith's coming off a 114-yard game, averaging 54 plus yards the last 5. 27% target rate versus man coverage. And guess what? The New York Football Giants play heavy man. Dallas Goedert, I'm also going to take his overs in receptions, 3.5. You can get that MGM, minus 140. Reliable, short yardage target, red zone target, averaging 3.7 receptions a game and hitting it 60% of the time. The Giants are not the best at covering tight ends, and Goddard leads the NFL tight ends in inside the 10 targets. So they get to the red zone, which I suspect they will get there early and often. Expect Jalen to be looking for Dallas Goedert. My last and final one that I like is going to be A.J. Brown over 4.5. Coming off of last week, he's going to get fed. A.J. Brown is a heck of a receiver, period, but he thrives against man-to-man coverage. And if you think you're going to cover him man-to-man coverage, Jalen and AJ are going to pick you apart, especially with those extremely strong hands. So those are the picks for Thursday night I'm rolling with. If we're talking about some other picks later in the slate, the lines are not out yet, but what I've got my eye on, remember, the lines are not out. The Cowboys are playing Carolina Panthers. I think Carolina Panthers are going to be in a letdown spot, one, after they just found a way to beat Miami in a crazy game. But look, Panthers are giving up 80 yards a game to the tight end position. Darren Waller just came in there and went nuclear with 78 yards and a touchdown against them. And Jake Ferguson is coming in. He's arguably the number 1 target in Dallas, especially with CeeDee Lamb away. So I expect Ferguson, they're not out yet, but I'm looking at his reception numbers, and I'm also looking at his overs in receiving yards. If his line is in the 50s, I think I got to ride with it. Also, I like Genty against the Titans. Titans are a bad team. I know there's a home team, but they're a bad team. And they just we'll say they got kind of lucky against Arizona. Arizona's point shaving for sure. So they got lucky, but they are, I think Genty finds the end zone. And so I'm taking Genty over in touchdowns, and he's coming off a 3 TD game. Look, go get him. Go get him. And I'm taking the Raiders to win this game. And so those are my early bets leading into Sunday. Let's get it. I appreciate y'all coming to hang out yet again with your boy. That's it for the Fade with Golden Tate. But before you go, make sure you click that like button and that subscribe button. But I'll see y'all next week. Enjoy the slate of games this week.